Yo, what's up? Wanted to talk a little bit about the some of the hot button topics like abortion, uh, homosexuality. The topics that they always talk about in politics or in religious circles, and it seems like the debate is always just about those two topics and a few other ones. But in regards to abortion, so abortion is basically about the law. Like, should there be a law? So it's basically pro-jail or anti-jail. That's what they're talking about. It's not pro-life, pro-choice. It's pro-jail, which is the pro-lifers. Because if they catch someone doing that, having an abortion, like a doctor or a lady, they will put them in jail, or they'll take them to court or whatever. I don't know what they do with them, but there'll be some penalty under the law, right? So they're pro-punishment, jail time. The other ones are not pro-punishment. So in regards to the law, you guys already know where I stand as far as that's concerned. Fear-based systems based on fear never develop good results in the long term. So I'm anti-jail. I don't believe that putting doctors or women in prison will solve anything. So I don't think that's a good solution. What is the problem? The problem is people don't want to have babies. They don't feel like they have an outlet. They feel afraid of the implications of having a baby, and so they seek to get rid of it, right? So we must provide. So I think killing babies, I think the baby is born at conception. When the sperm meets the egg, I think that's when life is conceived. So I think that if you do have abortion, you are killing a being, a living being. And I don't think killing is a good thing. But I don't think you should go to prison for it. I don't think that does anything to you to change the way you are. It's kind of like, punishing does not solve the cause, the root problem. So we're against killing babies, but we're not for having a law against these people. So how do we solve the problem? Is obviously bringing the kingdom, right? Bringing the kingdom to earth. But in more practical terms, we have to have a solution to mothers who don't want to have their babies. And there's a lot of different issues that go on in society today. Principally, like adopting is so hard. Adopting babies is such a hard process. It costs what, $25,000 to $30,000 to adopt a baby, and it's such a long process and drawn out, and it prevents a lot of people from adopting that are perfectly capable of adopting and that really want to adopt. And I know there's a lot of dangers. There's a lot of crazy people out there too. But there's a lot of good people out there as well. So the idea of selling kids is not, it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem right to me. If you're deemed a good couple or a good person even, who wants to take care of a human being for the rest of their life and who really seems like they're going to do that, I think we should allow them to. And it should be a lot easier and a lot less financially of a financial burden. So that's my take on abortion. Always a demand. The supply is always going to be there. Supply always meets demand. So the problem, we always got to focus on the demand, reducing the demand of women wanting to have abortions. And how can we do that is helping them solve their problem. How do we help them solve their problem is giving everything possible to facilitate, to help them have the baby and adopt it right away if they want to, or without any repercussions on them. So that's my 2 cents on abortion. Of course, the answer is always in coming into the new covenant, into the gospel of love, into this world, into this realm, and things start looking brighter. To all those mothers out there, or soon to be mothers who are contemplating abortion, just my only words of advice are sometimes we fear many things that aren't real. We fear things that aren't really there, that we are creating in our imaginations. And you know, most of the time that's what fear is anyway. It's stuff that you are imagining. What are other people going to think? What am I going to do? How am I going to survive? What are my parents going to say? What are my friends going to say? How am I going to live? And most of the time, it's blown out of proportion. We create our own dramas and we create our own just mental, whatever we create in our minds. The fear is not always there. I mean, it's not real many times. And like Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount, don't worry, follow the kingdom of God first, and all these things shall be given to you. And that is the truth. If you give your heart to God, and if you surrender to the Spirit of love, and you have the Spirit of love in your heart, and you dwell in that, good things will start happening to you. You will find energy, you will find inspiration. Things will start coming. You will start finding answers to your seemingly huge problems. and things will start getting better. So it all starts in your heart. And it starts with that surrendering of that control that you want to have of everything. That's where a lot of fears are based in trying to control everything in your external world, trying to control other people's perceptions of you, trying to control your place in society and your status amongst your family, your friends, your relationships, many things. So surrender, get rid of that control, surrender to God, have the spirit of love in your heart, and you will automatically want to have the baby, even if you want to surrender it thereafter. But once you surrender and you become part of the gospel of love, and you see the gospel of love, and you see the kingdom, and you just take upon the Lord in your heart. You will want to do the right thing, which is to have the baby. And so, which is nonviolence, basically. It's the same story for everything. Whether they're inside of you or outside of you, it's the same. So that's my 2 cents on that. As far as homosexuality goes, what does the gospel of love say about that? And it's a very touchy subject, especially in religious circles, but I think that love is the supreme value. And as long as we're in love, we're in the right place. And so, the same goes with the idea that we are not our bodies, that we dwell within our bodies. We dwell within our bodies, but we are not our bodies. That's not who we are. We're just inhabiting them. And so our identity isn't really a gender-based. We don't really have a gender-based identity. Our identity is our unconditional love, which is our innate, which is what we're made of. We're made of unconditional love, and we're made of free will. Those are the 2 things that we are made of, that we cannot get rid of, and that we're always drawn to. We need them. Everything else is secondary, and it changes with time, with circumstances, with culture, with just everything that goes on in life. The 2 things that never change are unconditional love and free will. That's what you are. That's what you'll always be. That's what we are. That's what we'll always be. And that's what we will become in the end. As the kingdom becomes part of the consciousness, the full-blown consciousness of our species as human beings. So that's in regards to homosexuality. It's love is the supreme value, not sexuality. Now, on the other hand, I know that there tends to be, I think, a little more sexual promiscuity in homosexual circles. I might be wrong, but it tends to be a little more. And so once we get into sexual addictions or any type of addiction, any type of reliance on external things to satisfy an internal need, then you get into trouble. You get into spiritual trouble, and you just get further and further away from where you want to be. And so that's a different theme, but we got to keep that in mind, that this isn't just a do whatever you want fest. There's a lot of in order to get closer to where we want to be, we need energy, we need passion, we need work, we need all these things to keep us on the right path. And addictions are definitely take us off the path. And it starts leading to selfishness, to just egocentric behaviors, destructive behaviors. And addictions they're always trying to fulfill something that we can't fulfill. It's trying to fulfill a void, something, and it can never be fulfilled through those addictions. So it's never the right way to approach. Now, everyone has addictions, of course. We all do, in one degree or another. But like I said before, as long as we're not trying to be perfect here. No one's perfect. No one has no addictions. But we must recognize what's truth and what's not truth. So as long as we know, let's not be in denial. Let's recognize what is real, what's truth, that addictions lead to behaviors that are not conducive to where we want to be. Now, whether we actually go through with it is a different story, and whether we struggle with it is a different story. But as long as we have the consciousness of it, we're on the right path, because we're going to start seeking fulfillment in other things and not in those things. But when we receive validation that it's okay to just thrive in our addictions, then we're just in denial. So I just went over a little bit of a few themes tonight. But the important thing, of course, always, for addicts as well, for anyone, for all the different, for homosexual, all these different themes we went over tonight, we always know that the answer is in remaining in the Spirit. Remaining in the Spirit, that's your daily duty, your daily task. And that's why we're here. And when we do that, good things start happening to us. Good things start happening in our lives, in our relationships, in our jobs, in everything. So remain within the Spirit. Let everything else take care of it, take care of itself, and follow the Spirit. The Spirit will talk to you. The Spirit will guide you. That intuition, that that presence of God that's inside of you. The kingdom of God is inside of you. That's what you are. So that's the most important thing we should focus on. Like I've mentioned before, there's no defined behaviors in unconditional love. We do know for a fact, though, that violence is not one of those behaviors. That we're almost certain of. That while in unconditional love, it's very difficult, not impossible, I'd say, but almost impossible to be in a state of violence and enrage while in a state of unconditional love. Besides that, there's very few set established patterns of behavior. But there's definitely limitations in different areas. So, with that, we will leave it tonight. And I'll see you tomorrow.